Hi. So this next installment is based on the emotion of anger. It tends to be an emotion that we avoid at all costs. The sad thing about that is that anger is the greatest and most efficient doorway often that we can take to journey deeper into the caves of ourselves and into our truths and into those opportunities for transformation that we yearn for. Often anger is the emotion that we have become conditioned, we've been taught to push as deeply down, far down within us as possible, and to be ashamed of. It's the emotion that we have come to really hide, create a very strong mask, even when we have the intention for vulnerability. Often we meet with that intention to be open, to be sad, to be connected, to be willing to have vulnerable experiences with others. But within that paradigm, there's still the capacity for people to avoid anger, or to avoid ownership of anger, or to avoid the difficult and deep acknowledgement of the moments when we cause ourselves and others pain through either our inexpression or our expression of anger. The reason why I say it's almost often the greatest doorway to journey deeper into ourselves is because, from my experience from years and years of journeying and supporting others to journey, anger is often sort of a layer, if you like, covering a volcano of emotions which lay beneath. And until we actually meet with that anger, the depth of release that we require in order to truly holistically heal, it's not really attainable. We can heal to a certain extent. We can acknowledge that wound, we can allow it to trickle out to some extent, but the depth that we actually wish to go to, unless we meet with that layer of anger, can be almost impossible. And the reason why, in terms of explaining this, so there's I guess to create that foundation where it's really easy to understand why we're meeting with that aspect of ourselves. I could describe it as the layer of anger which lays over this wound exists because this wound is akin to a small child that has been pushed into a dark corner and told not to speak, not to communicate, not to exist, not to interact, not to express itself, not to be. Obviously, this is not an intentional thing that we do, but we do it because within the culture that we live in, within our paradigm of experience, there isn't room for these children of ourselves, these wounded children, to really be gathered back to ourselves in a natural, living, organic way in all the moments of our day. So it's not something that we're used to. We're not used to walking with the children of our soul in an organic way. We're used to feeling difficult emotions, feeling sort of these volcanoes of emotions in different moments in our day, and pushing them aside and pushing them deeper. And even sometimes spiritual practices that we use, although well-intentioned, and although they bring some elements of calm, don't necessarily ultimately regather. Often they can still have an element of pushing those aspects of us aside. That's kind of a different, I'm not going to digress into that because that's a whole other video. But in order to give that real understanding of why this layer of anger is so important to meet with, is that if you imagine an aspect of you being locked in a dark corner, being left, being neglected, being rejected, the predominant emotion over time is going to ultimately be not just grief, not just pain, not just sadness, not just the trauma that we experience of worthlessness, but also the anger and the rage and the resentment that empowers the self to keep emerging, even though we've pushed it down. This small self, even though it feels so small and so worthless and so rejected, it still powers itself to rise up within us and keep speaking the language to our bodies. And it's this emotion, this anger, this rage, which allows that force to take place. And so often, because we have been conditioned to not meet with that emotion or that expression of ourselves in a way that's holistic and healing and regathering, so what we often do is we try to hold it. We try to hold it and we try to contain it for fear of it being an expression of us, and for fear of people seeing that expression of us and experience that expression of us and thinking that's us, because we don't want to be seen or understood as this aspect of us. And so the holding is a powerful experience for many. This need to take that part of ourselves that's trying to emerge and trying to communicate and trying to express itself and contain it. And this creates anxiety, deep and profound anxiety within the self. If you imagine that energy sort of bubbling and frothing within you like a volcano trying to explode, and we're, creating this other pressure downwards, and the anxiety and the depression which can be caused through that holding is ultimately a really important pivotal point in our journey, especially when it becomes so overwhelming that we can't function anymore. So it is actually a point in our journey when we have the opportunity to change our perspective, to shift our perspective, and to begin to coordinate ourselves as a holistic being who has the potential to expand into all of our stories. And obviously, in this lifetime, it's a very big intention to expand into all your stories, but we can open up to the potential and the possibility that we can anchor our light body in our bodies for this journey in a very potent way, in a much more potent way than we already are. So a lot of the spiritual practices that we do bring the light body in for a period of time where we feel calm, we feel relaxed, we feel connected, we feel wisdom flowing through us, but then it just takes a certain, few things for that light body to start to detach again and to start to sort of move beside us, move a little bit out of our body, just to become misaligned. And that's okay. We're here for that journey. We're here to remember. And on that journey of remembering, we're not going to be entirely aligned with our body, because we wouldn't be here if we weren't here to learn how to do that. We're born into this body to try and understand how to embody ourselves in a total way, so that our cells can vibrate with our soul's potential, with our expansive light, with our highest energy, form of energy. But also, in order to do that, we need to understand that as we draw the light body in, we're also going to anchor into Mother Earth. We're going to create a circuit, and we're going to draw all the stories of our soul. And as we do that, the stories will arise through the cells in our body, and they will ask us to witness the aspects of us that aren't yet healed. So it's a consistent and constant journey. It's one that asks us to dance between our shadow and the light of our heart. It's going to ask us to keep returning to ourselves, and returning to ourselves doesn't mean just returning to feelings of peace and surrender and embodiment and groundedness, which are beautiful and which are inherent in this story and which will keep returning to us. But it also will ask us to allow for these stories to arise within us fluidly and organically, so that we can journey back to the templates which we haven't yet healed. And as we do this, and as we continue to set these intentions to go deeper within ourselves, to heal more and more, to keep journeying into our shadows and trusting that the light, we will emerge into the light with our clarity and with our understanding, we're also going to become aware, much more aware, of our heart's light and of the river of light which flows beneath all our stories, and which flows through us, which connects us all. The river of light which is constant. And the more we heal, the more we experience that. So the expansiveness and the feelings of bliss and the feelings of connectedness and truth and trust grow. The more we release the aspects of us that are doubtful, that are mistrustful, that are injured from our wounded past or from our unhealed wounds from our past lives, the more we heal, the more we are free to feel the endless existence of truth and light. And so that river, although it is always present, as we heal, expands within us. And it is more tangible when we go into our sort of dark night of the soul. It's more tangible to us. And then we emerge, and as we travel into the next dark night of the soul, that river is even more tangible to us. So we gain more tools to go deeper and deeper into ourselves. And the challenges which we may have faced a few years ago, we now move into with ease, even though they have the same intensity and difficulty, and perhaps more intense and more difficult, because we're dropping deeper into our stories. We actually have a sort of fluid, organic beauty which we carry with us, which floats us through those stories and which illuminates them with more, let's say, with more of a resonant awareness that we're present in this story, and that we can almost guide ourselves as children through these pathways. So it becomes a more graceful experience. But it does take a huge amount of intention and commitment to continue on the pathway, and to keep acknowledging ourselves in the expressions of ourself that we aren't proud of, that bring us shame, that make us feel unsafe, that make us feel chaotic. And the truth is that we're in a time in the human experience where this is really the work that we need to be doing, is recognizing ourselves in a holistic way. And that is going to be a journey of quite a chaotic experience, an expression of chaos. Because the children of our soul, if you imagine a room full of children that have been, really ostracized and neglected for years, it's not going to feel easy. It's not going to feel lovely. It's not going to feel, it's going to be hard. It's going to be difficult, and the expressions are going to create difficulty in our world, and we are vibrating and creating the world around us from that expression within ourselves. And so everything we experience in our world is going to be a reflection of the unhealed self in those moments when we're walking in shadow. And so that reflection in the world that we see is us, and everything we experience, and everything that is difficult, and every person who is difficult with us, and every interaction, and every time we speak our truth or don't speak our truth, or come away from a situation feeling miserable, feeling sad, aggrieved. This is all a reflection of ourselves, including our anger. And so the more chaos you see in the world around you, the more you understand the chaos that still resides within you. And the alchemy for the healing of that is compassion, is understanding. It's understanding that these aspects of you and these reflections of you are children of your soul. And, meeting with them as you would a child who requires healing, with deep compassion, deep love, deep awareness of the pain which must have been experienced in order to create this requirement, first of all, to push that aspect of ourselves away, and next of all to need to express so deeply this anger and this rage for what has been unheard, unwitnessed, unacknowledged. And so in turn, as we do this for ourselves, we will walk out into the world with more vulnerability. We will feel more vulnerable because we have set that intention for ourselves to be as we are and to be whole. And so when we walk out into the world, we will express that. And so in taking away these masks, we're revealing parts of ourselves that we don't normally show to the world. And we're trying to walk with compassion into social situations and into the community for ourselves, expressing ourselves in a way that maybe we're not as comfortable expressing ourselves in that way. We don't want to show those aspects. So there is a tenderness to it. We're stepping out into the world without the mask, which we feel keeps us safe. And so we're stepping out with our anxiety, or our sadness, or our grief, or our anger, and sometimes behaving in ways that we aren't proud of. And there is a deep beauty in that, not just because we're learning how to hold ourselves with compassion, with this authenticity as we step out into the world, but we're also offering a really potent vibration to other people that we meet. And this vibration comes without words. It's something that we carry with us. This vibration which we have come to embody through the practice of healing and through the practice of creating a container of love for our most vulnerable parts. And through that practice, we're offering a sort of a key, a gift of unlocking, which happens vibrationally from one person to another, just through a meeting, a handshake, or a smile, or walking near to somebody, or having an interaction. Even if that interaction is negative, it's still a blessing, because no matter where you go in this world, you are offering that gift of your vibration, and so other people are benefiting from that. It's going to help them to step into that vibration within themselves. And sometimes you'll encounter it really, you know, when you set this intention for yourself, you'll encounter people who don't want to be in that vibration, and because they're not ready to take off their masks, or they feel very uncomfortable in your presence because it's illuminating something within them that's yet healed. And so there can be a great shift in the people that you meet, and the people that you hang around with, and the people that you socialize with, and your friends. There can be great shifts in that whole paradigm of your social interactions, where some people may back away. You might find that you gain friendships that are different, or it may be an experience that's shifting, you know, depending on the amount of healing you're doing and how deeply transformative it is. This shifting landscape does need to be something that you become aware of, but not just aware of, but also kind of utilize it, because often there'll be opportunities to see yourself in that shifting landscape, especially when you lose friendships, you know, the grief that you might go through, and the anger and the pain or the distress. In order to let go, you really need to meet with those experiences, and also it can bring you deeper into those channels of self-awareness. And I feel like that's another video in itself as well. So I'm going to wrap it up. Just before I go, I think for the purpose of authenticity, my greatest guiding principle in my life has been anxiety. So I come from a paradigm of healing, or I exist within the paradigm of healing, which doesn't require me to become healed. I'm not taking this journey in order to become a more successful participant in society, or to be more successful at my job, or to be more successful as a person in terms of well-being or health, or how I conduct myself. It's almost the opposite, because I'm embracing every aspect of myself and releasing myself and surrendering myself to the path of soul in its organic nature, which means really that I don't have any control over what I heal, or what comes next, or what that looks like. It's surrendering to the absolute unknown, and knowing that whatever template I've come here to experience is forged for me and ahead of me, and I'm releasing myself to that, to really to allow the deepest awareness to arise in each moment. And so that means that the anxiety that I've felt for predominantly my whole life has shifted and changed. Like, I couldn't have done this video a few years ago. So it's not that I'm not healing, but it's still an aspect of me. And it's still like there are many children of my soul. And I'm constantly journeying to them. And if I had an intention that I was going to become anxiety free, then that would be an intention to only acknowledge. When you think about this lifetime, how many children of your soul can you acknowledge? And when do you decide, I'm anxiety free, I'm not going to acknowledge any more children of my soul? Maybe that's your path. You know, maybe that's what you've come to do, is just journey into certain territories. And maybe anxiety isn't your guiding principle, you know, so each to their own. But for me personally, I will meet with these aspects of myself and keep meeting with them again and again and again, because they reside within me and my soul is infinite. And how many beautiful journeys have I taken? I don't know. But there's always more, until I'm fully aligned, until I'm deeply and fully aligned in a state of full embodiment, created that perfect circuit which flows unimpeded. And I'm still journeying towards that. And I would imagine that no matter how deeply people dive, they are still also doing the same. So the perfection which I may have craved many years ago when I started this journey, this feeling of freedom which I craved, that I thought I would embody, it resides within me. But so do these other aspects of self, which are in pain. And so the journey for me has not become to find this state of freedom. It's actually to embody the perfection and freedom that I am, and also to embody all the aspects of myself that I also am, which are yet to be healed, yet to be witnessed, yet to be acknowledged, and which, for this journey of individualization, are fractured. And in another aspect of truth, I am whole and perfect. When you set the human journey aside, I'm not. You know, I'm not. There's nothing divisive happening. But for this experience, I am scattered. I'm scattered. There's parts of me scattered into the ether and into the expanse of my soul, which I'm regathering. My intention is to regather and to regather and to regather. So I'm sort of offering this wisdom, or this truth, which has arisen for me throughout my journey and throughout this great intention that I've had to always walk deeper within myself, that it's not just okay to feel anxious or sad or depressed or afraid. It's not just okay to not get it right, to not turn up in public the way we want to not be successful at something. It's not just okay. It's really, really important that we feel all of those things within ourselves with authenticity and truth, and know that although we don't require judgment of ourselves, we can witness the judgment that comes from our wounded self. We can witness that, the ways in which we judge ourselves and the ways in which we push ourselves away. And in meeting with that judgment with compassion, we can set the intention to also meet with our fire, because this is the time, this particular time is the time to meet with our fire. in fact 2022 and the Lionsgate portal, and all of the energy that we've moved through in the last year or two has been bringing us deeper and deeper into that place of fire, the collective fire within ourselves. Which when we meet with it, when we meet with that anger and that rage and that internal sort of forest fire that is collective, we have incredible potential for transformation, just incredible. And like all of our emotions, they're all beautiful, sacred, and important, and we stop looking at them in any kind of hierarchy. We set ourselves free to become more and more embodied. So I think that's all I have for now. With love, and I'll tune in again next time I feel something arising within me. So my heart to you all watching. And if anyone ever wants to get in touch for a healing session or just quick questions and answers, my email is mck@angelfire@gmail.com. Okay, love and blessings.